So first of all, I want to thank you for making time to meet with me in this beautiful house and location here out in Hawaii.
Isn't it beautiful?
It really is amazing. It's really, it is amazing. And you know, there are so many people of my generation who've been affected and influenced by you, myself included. You know, I don't know, I know that if had I not gone through the things that I went through in the 1960s and immediately thereafter, that I wouldn't be where I am today. Or that even if I was, I might not be there in a way that feels as good as it does in so many ways right now. So, and I know that that's not just me. I mean, Be Here Now was something that affected a large number of people. But it's also your ongoing honesty and journey and talking about yourself, your health, your aging, which has also been, I think, so prominent for people. So I just want to first of all thank you for making this time available. I don't know, I don't come to this with a fixed set of questions in my mind. Maybe I should.
It's okay.
But I would be interested in knowing a little bit more, I guess, about your own perspectives on spiritual development and growth and aging as you've been living through.
And aging.
And aging as you've been living through. And again, we're all doing that at greater or lesser speeds. But I think for many, and certainly my generation who were a little younger than you, we're heading in that direction quickly. So.
Yeah. People ask me why I resisted celebrating my birthday. I'm 82. I'm 83. My body is 83. So I said to them, you can celebrate my body's being 83, but I am infinite. And because I'm a soul in this body. And so like one of the things that here in Hawaii, I study these that's part of my aphasia.
Right.
I study contentment.
Mm-hmm.
And contentment. And I think after the life, going on planes, different cities, and just my gigs were all, they were just endless. And then I got here, and I stopped, and I felt grounded, and I felt this is a healing island, and I would just go content. And I content where I'm standing. I'm content with my body. That's my study. My stroke, which is on the up here. So it's has once I had the stroke. About 2 weeks of depression, and I wasn't depressed about the stroke, but I felt my guru has pulled away his support. And so that I was no faith for that. And my guru had always bestowed on me all the spiritual stuff. And so I said to him, he's died. He died, but I said to him, where were you when would you go to lunch or something?
Had the afternoon off.
And it was far up because in the hospital room there were all my friends and relatives and doctors and nurses, and not one of them, they were all, oh, too bad, the stroke. I looked up at his picture and I said, it's not all so bad. And he smiled, the picture smiled in my mind. And I said, where were you? He said, I said, this stroke is something that's going, I trusted you. And he said, just wait, just wait. And so I thought, I tried to wait, and I was waiting for grace. So the grace, I got one grace. I wrote a book about helping before, called How Can I Help? And I found, now I'd write the book, How Can You Help Me? But I was realizing that grace, I was experiencing dependency. And when I wrote that book, I was, a helper.
Right, in command.
Yeah.
Right.
And first I found dependency in me. And it doesn't go well with this culture.
Right.
And so I let that flow in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And my caretakers we were spiritual partners. And I didn't see that I was helping or being helped. We just were together in souls. And they had their role, and I had my role, and that's the interaction roles. But then I turned inward, because the first I had to give up my MG sports car, because this just, and playing the cello. That's what give up. And then my golf, and so many things out there.
Right.
Out there. And that gave me, turned inward.
Did it make room for something else?
Yeah, that's what I did. I turned inward. I turned inward because of the stroke. And I thought, that's grace. That's grace. And I went inward and love. I experienced loving and being loved. Being loved not is conditional, but being loved unconditionally, inside, inside. And that love was so, wow. And you see, my guru said to me, he came up and he said, Ram Dass, I want you to love everybody. I said, that's a tall order. I said, I can't do that. He said, because I'm up here with the judge, you know, that's more than that.
Right.
I said, I can't do that, Maharaji. And he came up nose to nose, and he said, love everybody. And so I tried. I was not doing it, but doing it, but not trying. Well, there were politicians that I just had, and no way I could love them. So I took one politician and I put on my puja table with all the saints. Well, this is George Bush.
Senior or junior?
Junior. And I saw that I knew George in terms of his incarnation, but I didn't know his soul. And the compassion in me to that soul that has such a lousy incarnation I love George Bush because it wasn't George Bush, but it's that being, that being. And Maharaji was, I had instructions, love everybody, everybody. And I saw that exercise going through the compassion of the heart. And I could love George Bush because he was just another soul. this love, well, I'm a representative of the soul in this meeting.
Mm-hmm. When you first had your stroke, it almost sounded like you felt like that the stream of blessings that you had gotten from Maharaji had been interrupted, or he had somehow let you down. But that in actuality, you discovered that it turned you, this event,
Turned me inward.
right, as painful as it was, turned you towards your soul, your heart, your compassion, in a way that was very profound and very meaningful.
Yeah.
Am I hearing that?
That's right.
Right.
And that was grace.
Right.
That was grace.
I remember when I was very young, well, 18, 19, I was studying Zen Buddhism. I spent several years with Philip Kaplow at the Rochester Zen Center, doing intensive Zen Buddhist meditation. And we, in the old days, before there were Xerox copies, there were mimeographs of things, or maybe it was an old Xerox copy of a, sort of like a poem that was written by an Italian monk. I think it was something like Fra Angelica, but I don't remember the exact name. And he was writing to a parishioner of his who had gone through some loss or through some suffering. And he essentially said in there, don't view what comes to you in the clothing in which it wears, but look underneath and grasp the angel's hand that brings it to you, and you will discover a world that's woven by grace, with compassion, with wisdom and splendor.
Yes. That's what I appreciate now. For then I had there was never when I was a psychologist, I never saw that underside. Because nobody's discussed it. None of my textbooks that I was lecturing from. Yeah.
Why do you think it's so hard for, what you described is that you had to let go of some things in this experience, besides your MG and golf games, and the control over your body and the sense of being in command and not, or dependable as opposed to being dependent. We all have notions that we carry with us about how we are, about how the world is, we think the world should be. The great French neuropsychiatrist Jean-Martin Charcot said once, "Theory is good, but it doesn't prevent the existence of reality." The reality is, reality plays itself out, life plays itself out, and it doesn't play it out against our wishes. It plays it out as it's going to.
Well, the realities are wishes, because we project. Okay. Yeah.
But that letting go of what our expectations are is very hard for people.
They letting go what?
Of our expectations about the way things should be.
Expectations bad. Bad. I teach in the mind let go of thoughts about the future and let go of the thoughts about the past. You are right here now. That's getting into spirit, because that's not thoughts. Not thoughts. So expectations is a down the wall. It's a thought. It's a thought. The thinking mind is the culprit, because it projects our reality. And self-definition. So what I do is I don't identify with the mind. I identify with the soul. The mind has the ego. Who we think we are. Who we think we are. And this is who we are. And then coming down to the heart. This witnesses this. Witnesses the stream of thoughts. And the witness look at the thoughts, and the thoughts are going to impede my spiritual work. And there are thoughts that aren't going to. So I thought, if I'm going to, from here, what am I going to do with those thoughts which impede my spiritual work? If I get mad at them, that's not going to be good for my soul. So I love them. they're the heavy ones. So I love them to death. It's double entendre.
And if you do they change? Do they kind of transmute?
Yes.
Turning
Yes.
straw into gold?
Just, yeah. And you see that there was a woman that came to my guru, and she said, Maharaji, my whole life suffering. And he looked at her and he said, I like suffering because it brings me so close to God. There's a turnaround. That when you're in this, when you're in the soul, you see negative things in the world as stepping stones on your spiritual path. We are all on the spiritual path. We are all souls. We are all souls. We are all souls.
Is there a difference between the suffering that you experience about yourself and the suffering that you see others going through?
Oh yeah.
In terms of response to that?
You don't go up to somebody who's suffering and say, it's good. You don't.
Right.
But you stay in your heart and in your whole soul.
You've written about the importance of reaching out to other people when they're suffering. And so I guess my question was really, when we view ourselves as, woe is me, why is these terrible things happening to me? That's one kind of component of a certain kind of suffering. There's also the suffering of people we see around us who don't have enough to eat, who are sick, who need help, who are being maltreated, where the heart hopefully would open up to them and to their suffering. So I was just wondering the distinctions that you were making between those.
It is a distinction. When somebody is suffering, it's important to not make them feel alone. And I think it's important to just companionship. And maybe you can do it by providing something that they need. And the Seva Foundation, which is one of our things for other suffering. We provide operations on their eyes. But we have a board member of that Seva Foundation, Wavy Gravy.
Mm-hmm.
And Wavy goes into the hospitals where there are children cancer patients, and he's dressed as a clown, and he makes them laugh,
Mm-hmm.
makes them and that helps.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps. The compassion with which compassion is God-driven. Love, compassion, peace, wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Joy. These are in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone. And we're going dip down to somebody. You can bring joy to from suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Like we in Guatemala, among the Indian population, the women were suffering. And what we did is, we bring each woman a goat. Then they're economically independent.
Yeah.
And that's the suffering. My interactions with people. They come to me because I'm a spiritual person, which I have become.
Mhm.
And I teach them how to live in their heart
Mhm.
and live in their soul.
Mhm. Is there something that you say to them in kind of a general way that helps people move, if you will, from here to here?
This to this. Start up here. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. And they have to identify with this and move to identify with this.
Mm-hmm.
For this identification thing, I am loving awareness. 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 And down here, loving awareness. Loving awareness. And when you perceive your life or in the environment from loving awareness, it's different. It's different. It's different. It's different. And I think and then through the loving awareness, they will break through to the soul. And it is in soul land. And then in soul land, you look at other people as souls. And souls, the relationship between soul to soul is love. Is love. Just love. I think it's oh boy. When I got into this soul business for myself, I was meditating one day and I looked around and I loved everything. Everything. The walls, the clouds, the grass, my wheelchair. I mean,
Without exception.
Without exception. Without exception. Without exception. And that became, when you live in unconditional love, you're loving and you're being loved. Yeah.
You know, I remember, and I must have heard this story either from you or about you, I don't even know how many times, but it's the story I remember first hearing many years ago about when you first met Maharaji, and you're in this Land Rover with a colleague, and you're driving through India, and you're not quite sure if you're getting to where you need to get to, and you end up being outside at night and thinking about your mother, and then he basically
Yeah.
tells you what's been going on inside you,
Yes.
and opens you up.
Yes.
But it sounds like, in a sense, part of what you're saying is that you've really come to that state now more and in a more full way in recent years.
Oh, yes.
Since your stroke and since the...
Oh, boy. And in that darshan with my Maharaji, I was impressed by his power.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out of my psychology training.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, I was totally impressed, which is the way he opened me.
Yeah. His way in.
That's way in. And then here he had read my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat in front of him on the grass. He was here.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to think about the things that I thought that I wouldn't want anybody to know. And he knew them. Oh, shit. And he knew those things. And I was looking down the ground, and oh boy. And then I looked up, and he was looking at me with total love. Total unconditional love.
Mm.
And I don't think in my whole life there was any unconditional love. Unconditional love. And the opening up is, it satisfied my power needs.
Mm-hmm.
And the love, I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it for many months. And he put me into beautiful environments, where they are loving environments.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that changed me is that look of unconditional love.
Mm.
It just, the changes were not the mind reading.
Yeah.
You know. The power thing, reading my mind, that Siddhi,
Mm-hmm.
was opening me up. Because Richard Alpert was a power broker.
Right, right. So it was a way that you of all people would get hooked in by that.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. And then the love. And since then, wow, it just gets open and open and open.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Because now there are three planes of consciousness. I don't know whether I'm sure there are three planes of consciousness. There's this plane of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
then the individual soul plane,
Mm-hmm.
which is each soul has the stuff of it, the stuff from the one,
Right. Made in the image of God.
made in the image of God. Just.
Right.
And the only thing that they have is not, they're separate.
Mm-hmm.
They're separate, and they're their goal is to merge with God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why all of us took this particular birth, because this birth shows us evils of separateness.
Huh.
Separate nation states, religions, people.
Mm-hmm.
And the separateness contributes to the fear. The fear. Because you're so separate, and big winds around us. Politics, wind, sun, and all that. And we're going to get out of this incarnation rid of our separateness.
So if one plane is this, and a second plane is individual souls,
Yeah.
the third plane is a more universal soul?
Yes. The Atman is
Mm-hmm.
what in the Hindu
Mm-hmm.
tradition. The third plane is the one.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is one.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is love. My guru lives on that plane,
Mm-hmm.
and he have access to these other planes.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the soul plane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I see love, and he be love.
He was love, or he is
He,
love.
he is love. He is love. And I see myself on the sand at the ocean front, and I'm diving into this ocean of love. And the only thing is, there's the shoes, they show shoes on the beach, and the ego on the beach. And after they dive in, you no longer are separate. It will be love. This is the second and third, between the two, is where I am now, just like that. And from inside, I'm loving everybody. Like if I take do a retreat for 3,000 people, 3,000 people. And I stand on the stage and I love them. I can subject. I'm loving everybody, but they are seeing me as love, and they don't see my ego. I reassure them that my ego is still there.
The power of this is clearly in the experience, your experience of it, people's experience of you, their experience with Maharaji.
Yes.
Certainly we saw it generationally with people with LSD experiences and others. Where people would have, powerful, profound religious experiences, kind of 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, if you will, to something very, very...
As my guru said, psychedelics allow you to get in the room with Christ, but then you don't
get to live there.
Yes.
Yeah. But there must be something in our very being, whether you call it soul or you call it neurobiology or you call it something,
yes,
that we're wired to both be attached, to be in ego insensate experience because we have a body.
Yes.
Freud's old, and I'm not particularly a Freudian, but Freud's old model of the ego was that it lived on the left-hand side of the brain, upside down. It was basically a homunculus in the speech center.
Yeah.
That at the same time, that's kind of where we are wired to begin. And in some sense, at the same time, there are ways of moving beyond that and transcending that require work, experience, maybe a little bit of luck, and
maybe a grace.
Yeah, grace.
Maybe grace, because It's like in India, they say, don't look for the guru. The guru is looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit like that.
Mm.
Like it's that I'm huffing and puffing to 3 to 2 to 3. But that, my purity is, I mean, if rains come, you should cup your hand if you want to drink water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just rain.
Right.
Cup
You have to act.
Love, yeah.
Or as the Pirkei Avot says, the sayings of the fathers in the Jewish tradition says, free will is given and everything is foreseen.
Free will is given.
And everything is foreseen.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. 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 Here we are, a psychiatrist and what is it, a soul thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're both Jews.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rabbi that just recently died, that Zalman Schechter.
Mm-hmm.
He and I danced in his tallis.
Mm-hmm.
We danced with psychedelics.
Mm.
We danced. We stoned out of our mind and knew we were both God.
Mm.
Wow. Yum, 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 yum.
Well, there's another saying or perspective. It says about Torah interpretation, that there are 4 layers of Torah interpretation, which in the acronym are PRDS, which spells out Pardes, or the garden, or Garden of Eden. And the P is like kind of the literal. And then there's an allegorical level and a symbolic level. And then the last level, the S, stands for sod, or hidden. And then the question was asked, if it's hidden, where do you find it? And the answer is, it's hidden inside yourself.
Yes, 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 of course, of course, of course. I tell people that the guru is not outside of you.
Mm.
The guru inside. That's what. That's, everybody has a guru.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So the interpretations that of the holy books are symbolic, are what did you say?
Literal, so the literal story.
Yeah, literal, yeah.
An allegoric level or a symbol, and then another one is a symbolic level,
Yeah.
which are a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the hidden or mystical level, which
Yes.
is hidden.
Yes.
And the question is, if
Yes.
we're hidden, how do you find it? And the answer
Yes,
is it's hidden
that's
inside
beautiful.
yourself.
Beautiful.
Which also means that there are many different facets or versions of it, because we're all both different and yet not different.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, my years of Zen Buddhist training led me to discover I was a Jewish kid from New York City. That was very useful.
Yeah. Yeah. Buddhism. I've done Southern Buddhism, the mindfulness and things like that, and breath.
More of Vipassana kind of.
Vipassana.
Yeah.
Vipassana. And when I wanted to look at my guru and wanted to absorb him, that training of Vipassana would keep me so wired in with just Buddhism, Hinduism, yeah. All the isms go drown the truths. All the isms.
The sea of love.
In the sea of love, yes.
Sea of love.
Yeah.
You know,
I love you.
It's great sitting here with you. It really is.
You know, this interview heals me in many ways. I mean, you're a thing.
Thank you.
You know, I was at Harvard. I wanted to do therapy. I was a social psychologist, but so they at the health service. I was there, and there were 5 psychiatrists, and then there was me. Well, those psychiatrists brushed off me because I was a psychologist, and that scar is, you know, here you are, listening to the love. Oh boy. Yeah.
The task is always to listen, and is always to do it. Not that we always achieve it, but always to do it with respect, with awareness, and recognizing that every moment that's being presented is a moment of opportunity.
Every moment.
Every moment.
Yes. Every moment.
Yeah.
be here now.
Good name for a book.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah. I used to drive my motorcycle to my therapist, my Freudian therapist.
Mm-hmm. In Boston?
No, in Palo Alto.
Mm.
And I used to rum, and then that was the ruining of the session that was ongoing. And then I'd go in the grass and just leave marks and things like that. I was just yum. Oh wow! My psychiatrist. You're all. I was a psychologist. I didn't go from there to this state.
Mm-hmm.
It was in between. The in between was psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
Psychology, psychedelics, spirituals.
Yeah. For me, it was a little, probably some similarity, but a little bit of difference. So that I'm younger than you, and I started college in 1967, so just as the war was peaking. And for reasons that seem really stupid and trivial now, I was, as my grandmother would say, verklempt. I was not happy. I was in a kind of existential state where all that I could see around me was suffering. I didn't see that there was anything else but suffering around me. And in the middle of that came an LSD experience. And the LSD experience was not something that happened frequently, but this one experience, I think I was still 18 years old. I was dropped from the state I was in. I might as well have just been woken up in the middle of the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness no other than form. Everything was absolutely perfect, unlimited, unending compassion, and complete, utter wholeness, and at the same time there was nothing to strive after. The issue of attachment was irrelevant because there was nothing to attach to because everything was under the aspect of eternity, but there was no need to strive after everything because I and everything else intrinsically was whole and complete, exactly as everything was. And after that, it was a little hard to go back to college. I mean, it was hard to know what to do next.
But you did back to
Well, I did sort of, but the intermediate step was there were two intermediate steps. The first step was going off and doing Zen Buddhist training, because I figured, so I got to get back there. I've got to so. It was Rinzai Zen. It was like, as I said to somebody earlier, it was like the guns of Navarone. You didn't go left, you didn't go right. You were like going straight at, where, as if you could kind of like basically seize heaven. But then I spent about a year by myself in isolation because I really I knew I wasn't going to become a monk. That wasn't kind of in the cards. And I didn't know really how to go forward. I didn't know in the terms of the culture. And I was worried that if I was too affected by the culture, and I can't imagine what I would do now with smartphones and the internet, there would be no way to escape. But I actually kind of cut myself off in a controlled way. I worked, But I spent basically almost a year doing walking meditation and Zen meditation.
Wow.
And at the end of it, my transformative experience was actually in the form of two very powerful dreams. And in the second dream, I had an experience where I essentially, the crisis resolved basically through the dream. It was a kind of almost in a kind of Jungian kind of a way. But it led me back to, it was Jewish, it was kind of a retelling of the Exodus motif, except it was now a personal transformative story, but it had a Buddhist flavor to it, and all of a sudden I could see a way forward to become a psychiatrist. But that came from inside. It was not from, and that then led to the rest. I mean, the rest came out of that, so.
That was your Dharma. Your Dharma was to be a psychiatrist.
That's true.
And the Dharma rises from within, from the soul. Yeah, that's great. That's a beautiful story. That's a beautiful story. Yeah, that interim is not, that interim was significant.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that was not wasted. That was the least wasted time.
Yeah.
That's the kind of, what Erik Erikson called splendid isolation, or kind of an interregnum. You get a kind of what now sometimes gets called a gap year, but it was a kind of a time out, if you will, that allowed a certain process to go forward and to be ready.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I had Maharaji and the darshan, and then he put me into a temple, a cold temple. There was everybody there was speaking Hindi, and I was just by myself. And that was that place. Boy.
How long did that go on for?
Um, 6 months. Yeah. Boy, it was so beautiful. Then out there is the culture.
Right.
I got all the out there's. Out there is India. Out there is New York. I had that temple, that peace, and then I got introduced to the Indian culture in the small villages where the people are identified with their soul. And their roles are their roles.
Right. It's like Arjuna and Krishna.
Yeah, that's right. And then I came to New York, and everybody's so identified with their roles. Wow. First the door was open, the plane is, and there's rolls.
Right.
I got each step.
And think if you're a young person and you're really struggling to figure out, I don't mean me or you, but just take any young person now, trying to figure out what am I really about? What do I really want to do? What do I say? What does my soul say I should be doing? And you're bombarded, you know, not only with all of those things out there, but, you know, the things that are the stream of information that's coming from every direction. Where is there space for you to be yourself?
By going inside.
Yeah, yeah. But to create that vessel, that place, that time for people, requires, because the amount that's out there is even greater than it was.
Easy, so much. Here we're right now.
Exactly, that's right. We're contributing to it.